Nikola Tesla and the Black Knight satellite, an alien satellite in Earth's orbit. There are currently over 100,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, from space junk to high-tech probes transmitting signals back to our Earth, but one of these satellites is thought to be of extraterrestrial origin and has been circling our planet prior to the launch of Russia's Sputnik. This mysterious spacecraft is known as the Black Knight satellite. It's alleged to be of an alien provenance, and it's covered up, they say, by NASA for more than 60 years, while most man-made satellites orbit in prograde due to the ease and fuel efficiency of using the Earth's natural gravitational pull. The Black Knight satellite, though, is said to orbit in retrograde, adding to its curious nature. But is it actually an alien satellite monitoring our planet, or simply a thermal space blanket like NASA has claimed photo evidence of it to be? Nikola Tesla and the Black Knight satellite. Recently, a series of fast radio bursts was picked up by Stephen Hawking's Breakthrough Listen initiative, which some have speculated could be coming from the technology of an advanced extraterrestrial species. And this would not be the first time a scientist picked up signals from the cosmos and believed it to be of alien origin. Because nearly a century ago, Nikola Tesla came to have recorded electrical signals at his laboratory in Colorado Springs, and he claims that they were of intelligent nature. Tesla had been working on the technology for his Wardenclyffe Tower when he noticed signals which were not of earthly origin and could be ruled out as being weather-related. He claimed he believed the signals were being transmitted from a civilization on Mars. That's why he developed a device to send signals back out to make contact with whoever may have been sending these signals. Tesla was arguably the most well-versed in radio signal transmissions at the time, having pioneered the technology, so it's hard to imagine he would have been confused by any earthly interference. No one knows exactly what those signals were, but some believe they may have been a transmission from the Black Knight satellite. Not long after Tesla's reception, an amateur radio operator in Norway named Jørgen Hals recorded transmissions called long-delayed echoes, or LDEs. Long-delayed echoes, LDEs. Stanford professor Ron Bracewell proposed the idea that these echoes were the product of an alien satellite picking up radio signals from Earth and then rebroadcasting them back to Earth, creating a delay of several seconds. Some speculate that the Black Knight could be this theoretical transmitter known as a Bracewell probe. In the early 1970s, a man named Duncan Lunnan reinterpreted and examined these LDEs, concluding they were too strong to simply be echoed radio signals from Earth. Lunnan said he translated the signals and to his surprise found a map of Epsilon Bootis, which is a binary star in the Bootis system. Although Lunnan does not like his interpretation of the LDEs associated with the conspiracy surrounding the Black Knight satellite, there are similarities in nature and timeliness. Is the Black Knight satellite real, first of all? In 1954, a few news reports claimed the U.S. Air Force had discovered 2 satellites orbiting the Earth. With the first man-made satellite Sputnik not launched for another 3 years, the discovery was surprising. But the Air Force was not the only government agency to notice the satellites. The Venezuelan Communications Ministry also noticed their presence a few years later while tracking Sputnik. The ministry noted that these satellites were moving from east to west in retrograde orbit. Aside from the fact that there were only a few artificial satellites in orbit at the time, none would have been in retrograde orbit. In 1954, Donald Kehoe found a satellite was found to orbit the Earth. Kehoe was originally a Marine naval aviator who later became the most prominent name in ufology, establishing the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, or NICAP, NICAP. Kehoe's claim was picked up by the San Francisco Examiner and St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and according to the articles, Kehoe said that the Secretary of the Air Force, Harold Talbot, was aware of the satellites and had even witnessed a silvery disc-shaped object in the sky, quote-unquote. A silvery disc-shaped object in the sky, though Talbot dismissed these claims. Another confounding characteristic of the Black Knight was the fact that it was circling the Earth in polar orbit. This is something not accomplished by man-made satellites until 1960. And this type of orbit is typically used for mapping and reconnaissance and tracking, and often it's done in a sun-synchronous orbit so that each time the satellite passes a particular spot, it's the same time of day. The combination of retrograde and polar orbits makes this type of satellite stick out, especially in the late 1950s and early 60s, when satellite technology was in its nascent phases. And it wasn't just military entities who photographed an unidentified satellite, but also the Smithsonian Observatory at Harvard, as well as the Grumman Aircraft Corporation in New York. But the story of the Black Knight gets even more bizarre, with the French Space Commission's observation of the satellite while Jacques Vallée was on staff. Despite excitement and intrigue by Vallée and his colleagues, a senior member of his team deleted their imaging of the satellite for reasons unknown. While Vallée said he believed it was out of embarrassment for the Commission's inability to identify the orbiting object, it was becoming increasingly common for agencies around the world to notice the unidentified satellite without explanation. NASA's Black Knight satellite explanation? There are several pictures circulating the internet of what is thought to be the Black Knight. These pictures, according to NASA, are images of a thermal cover dropped during a spacewalk or during some type of extravehicular activity on the ISS. During this expedition, one astronaut purportedly finished his mission early and was asked to cover the space station's trunnion pins with thermal covers. The astronaut was asked to complete this as a free-floating task, despite not having the cover properly attached, inevitably losing track of it as it floated off. When asked later which pin he lost the cover to, he said he could not remember and that he was too upset with himself to think about it. NASA maintains that the photographs most people point to as evidence of the Black Knight are images of this thermal cover. There's also a video of the astronauts inside the space station filming and photographing the cover as it floats off. It's entirely possible that NASA's claims are true. There are plenty of similarities between the thermal cover and the images believed to be the Black Knight. There aren't, however, sufficient explanations of sightings and documentation of the satellite from 1950s and 60s by numerous governments and scientific agencies. In 1963, while orbiting Earth, astronaut Gordon Cooper reported seeing a glowing green light ahead of his Mercury 9 module. He reported it to the Australian Space Command, who were able to track it. Oddly enough, when Cooper returned to Earth, he was not allowed to talk about the light, and it was WASP official reported that he had suffered hallucinations from an excess of carbon dioxide in his cabin. Despite NASA's attempt to explain what Cooper saw with a more mundane explanation, he continued throughout his life to divulge stories that detailed his experiences with UFOs and other unexplained phenomena. He often spoke of attempted government cover-ups regarding UFOs and unexplained activity, so it could be probable he saw the Black Knight realizing its existence was deliberately being withheld from the public. This is by sourcegea.com, and it's on Humans Are Free. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.